Hi, my name is Maggie Taylor. I am the owner of Delight Flower Farm, which is a small yet mighty commercial cut flower farm just west of Champaign, Illinois, and we are partnering for Agroforestry. So one of the ways in which we've partnered with the Savanna Institute is in helping with our NRCS application. And NRCS is a division of the USDA that helps support conservation plantings and practices. In the past, we've applied for like an unheated hoop house, which we built to extend our growing season. But the way that the application works is you essentially get ranked, and the more practices you put into place, the more likely that your ranking will be higher and the more likely you are to get the funding. So this year in my application for NRCS, I worked with Katie Adams of the Savanna Institute to put into place some practices that I was less familiar with, but totally on board and philosophically aligned with. And those practices are the alley cropping techniques and repairing a windrow that was already a wind block that was already here on the farm when I purchased it a few years ago. But over time, due to whatever circumstances, many of the evergreens have died off and need essentially to be cut out and replanted. And I will also be adding, this was Katie's suggestion, adding some more low bushy crops to help wildlife habitat like coral berry, which it does double duty for my farm because it will create, well, I guess more than double duty, because it will create habitat for birds, which it's great to have diversity in the ecosystem here. And one of the reasons that birds are great is because they can eat a lot of pests. And if flowers get eaten by bugs, they're not worth selling at all, invaluable to us. But also the crops that we decided to add to the wind block and to do the alley cropping are all varieties that can be sold commercially in the floral industry. So it's a great idea, and it's going to take a few years, and it's a large expense to invest in as someone on relatively new to me land. So the USDA grant is really going to help support me being able to establish these things that I feel very strongly are valuable to the farm. And I'm resourcing the knowledge of the Savanna Institute to implement these agroforestry techniques and practices. And what Katie did for me was help me with the application process and the crop planning and mapping. The way that it will play out with NRCS, or the way it's worked in the past with other grants that I've applied for, is that I initially pay for the plants, I pay for the high tunnel, I pay for whatever it is that the agreed and obligated practices are. And then NRCS officers come out and do a walk around, which they did several times just in the application process, so that we made sure we were on the same page and that I am not agreeing to anything that I'm not able to do. But then once the practice is established and it meets their criteria and they can come and have a look at it, they will basically direct deposit right into my account a partial pay for the project. So for example, in the wind block area, they pay out a rate per square foot. So it's not per tree. So I could space the trees however we determine is best for my farm. And it's the overall kind of rectangle, or in my case, it's a large L that's being planted as a wind block on the southwest corner of my farm, where most of the wind pressure is coming from. And so that will be paid out in a dollar amount by square footage. The alley cropping, I think, is paid out on a per plant basis. And so there are stipulations about how many plants you can put in a row and how far apart they need to be. And then there's cost shares on other parts of these projects. So if you think like the wind block, it's just, planting evergreens, but it's not just that. There's some site preparation that needs to happen, and old trees need to come out. We need to dig holes for new trees. In my case, I'm going to be doing the labor to take it out with my crew and then planting it. And then I'll be running an irrigation system just for first couple of years to protect my investment and to make sure that these trees are watered even during periods of drought. So they won't cost share on the irrigation, but on mulching and on digging the holes and cutting out the old trees, all of that is figured into the per square foot cost share. And I think it works in a really similar way in the alley cropping. I get a percentage of the mulch covered. And in my case, it's actually a great situation for me because I have a professional relationship with a tree trimming company. So they're happy to come to my farm and bring wood chips at the end of a busy day of tree trimming, and they don't have to pay a landscape recycling center. And I basically have a limitless supply of mulch that's organic and that's going to break down in the landscape over time. So I'm not putting plastic on the soil and things like that. The benefits of working with NRCS and the Savanna Institute are many, and some of them are very tangible, like I can see in my application and in the obligated contract, the actual dollars that NRCS is going to contribute towards this project and this practice. But some of them are intangible in that you're just spending time and learning from a like-minded individual. And I think that sometimes in this vast ocean of corn and soybeans that I'm in, and also being a female farmer, it can be hard to find someone that relates to me, someone that has a shared vision that I do. And I think that that's what working with Katie Adams and the Savanna Institute in the context of the NRCS and USDA application process, that is really valuable, and there's not a price tag on that. So I'm really grateful for this connection and this partnership.